Nemiga busted at this stage, you got to take the first choice of them when you get the opportunity to do so. I was never doubting like the Muerta in that previous game. That's the thing. Like Muerta did her job. It's just that she was a lone hand, it felt like, in that game.
Yeah.
You should never have a game where AA is doing more damage than a mid tiny, and he did.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. I didn't even see that.
It's banned.
So.
And Nature's Prophet's banned. Let's go.
So it seems like eSpoiled have decided to get rid of all the bonkers broken heroes. Unfortunately for them, they don't get the first pick here, but it seems like quite a lot of them are going to go goodbye for today at least. So I'd imagine a Templar Assassin band's going to come through. We probably will see.
eSpoiled would need to do it. Because Nemiga got first pick, they're not going to ban it if they have the opportunity of picking it up themselves.
Dark Willow TA, and then we got rid of Kunkka. If you're going to go for the TA, you definitely want to get rid of the Batrider.
Yes, you can get rid of Batrider. I mean, they could choose to ban Darkseer as well. Maybe feel like they have answers to the TA themselves. So if you don't ban some of these bigger priority heroes, then it can become a little bit more challenging.
Ooh, TB. Okay. So the TA is still very much available.
TA's available, Doom's available, Darkseer's available. What else has been first phased? Darkseer's not available. Husk, okay. Still going back for it. I mean, Excess Vampire played it pretty great in that particular game, so I totally understand why you want to just go for this hero, which again can be flexed around if you absolutely need it to. I think for this team in particular, it's the Pos 4 Tusk that's just leading the way. But I don't know. Like, I feel like it worked all right with the DP, which I suppose is still in the pool. Is it now a question of do eSpoiled pick up the DP for themselves, considering the AA has been banned out? Because I feel like if they don't, or if they don't ban it next, it's just going to be a pretty quick pick for Nemiga.
Yeah, so down the path that neither of us expected. The Dirge is picked up here by eSpoiled. You can see Snovy's getting quite animated there in the player cams, speaking about a lot of these first picks and kind of the ideas that they want to try and go through here. He does have the crown next to his name. Whether or not he's the one that's actually calling the shots is a question potentially could be answered somewhere down the track, but getting rid of the Centaur here. A lot more of these offlane bans are just going to get sent out. So the TA eventually does cop the ban hammer. What is going to be the final ban here for the side of eSpoiled?
I mean,
Some more. Yeah, okay.
I can see it. And I still think the Shadow Shaman is fine. I just think the way that they waited way too long to get value out of the Blink Dagger. I'm not even sure if we saw a single Blink Hex into Serpent Wards, into Shackle, you know? Like, I just think they need to change their mentality around what to do when they hit these timings, for mine. So...
Yeah, it definitely did feel like they were potentially a step behind where they really needed to be. So... it's going to be the response here. This is where we saw the Ancient Apparition be picked up.
Still on board with the Jakiro. Nothing wrong with the Jakiro here.
True. Not wanting to show too much of your hand. I mean...
what's another option? Silencer? Like, people aren't really picking Silencer as much anymore, but it's still a viable option.
Let's give you that little bit of a global combo break. I mean, I'm loving the Jakiro. I think that just has such a good combination with a lot of the heroes that Nemiga have looked really, really good on. Bashka has looked, I would say, his best on Sven every single time.
Yep.
So if you're trying to angle towards that, the Jakiro does enable him a decent amount. Be able to provide those slows so you can stick on targets. Obviously, the Ice Path is very, very good at setting up for a lot of these kills as well.
Bro, I don't know why Excess Vampire is just showing, like, from the nose up, because, yeah, there's the Silencer. If you look on his Instagram, so many thirst traps. Like, man goes to gym, and man loves himself, so, you know, he should be getting the rig out.
He was, he definitely had much more than the forehead yesterday. So, potentially he could just be having a low day today, right? The self-esteem's not up at the tippity top. He wants to try and win some Dota 2 instead of getting the guns out.
True.
Tickets aren't free, you know.
True. Sun's out, guns out. That's why there's no guns here. The sun is not out ever in my apartment.
It is dank and dark.
Mm-hmm. You gotta have the dank. But yeah, I do like the silencer just to be able to engage. It's a way to be able to take away the Undying's impact in a lot of these team fights. I mean, they already had a rough time even without that backline disruption, and now it's just going to be even more difficult. Still not picking up the Sven at this stage, kind of just baiting eSpoiled to take it, because I feel like if they don't, it's just going to be claimed by Nemiga with this last pick of the second phase.
And I also feel like this Pango has been Corvus9's strongest hero as well. He looked very, very comfortable on it in that game that they had against Mod Move yesterday. So looking to see him start to clown around once again on this Pangolier. Question is, for eSpoiled, what do you get? There is a Bat Rider.
Yeah.
But you have to play in a global. So
and you're revealing it as a core really early as well, which, I mean, you mentioned Corvus9 playing the Pango, so if you were like sure that it was a mid Pango, then sure, you can get away with going the Bat Rider, right? And just committing for it. Like a Drow, huh? So is this now a core Undying?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, is this taking a leaf out of Malik's book from yesterday?
Interested to see how they're looking to play this Naga. Don't really see it be played as core anymore. Like, yeah, they took away the status resistance reduction from the Deluge, which obviously did hurt the support aspect, but there's still so much strong about it. You know, it's kind of like what we were saying about the Chaos Knight yesterday. You know, fast hero, pretty tanky, lots of utility in terms of stuns, great teamfight ultimate. Even just the scouting potential of your mirror images.
Just annoying to deal with. It's really one of those kind of heroes in that category, in the support category, where you don't want to put all these resources in dealing with it, but you kind of have to, because otherwise they just do what they want to do, and that's problematic in and of itself. So definitely in that category of heroes, like, you roll your eyes knowing that you have to deal with it, and if you don't, then you're going to have problems. Very strong heroes in that regard. So let's see what Nemiga are going to respond with. Probably not vibing the Sven as much anymore.
I mean, can they like
Spectre?
Spectre, or like, I don't know.
Because you have Global.
Gyrocopter, even. Just something to be able to stay away from the Drow Ranger, outrange her. So, okay, just some other backline jump, sure. Makes a lot of sense.
First Storm that we've seen over our
it's been banned pretty frequently.
Yeah, always was a second phase bandit, pretty much. Like,
yeah.
Was that like sixth ban most of the time? Fifth, sixth ban for a lot of teams.
Yep. So just looking to get rid of the main counters to it now, so I'm really just trying to rack my brain as to what eSpoiled might be considering into the Storm Spirit. You know, you can just go for a Spirit v Spirit matchup. You could go for, again, the Tiny, but I would want to see them play it a little bit differently, because this time, absolutely, you don't really have that frontliner. Like, Drow does not want to be on the front lines. Drow will die if she's just forced to be out there on the front lines. And they do end up getting rid of the gyro that I was saying before. I mean, it's just good against the Tombstone, against Naga Illusions, Flat Cannon outranges the Drow Ranger as well, so it's effective in all those ways, but not going to be useful this time around.
We'll see.
I mean, I wouldn't hate the Spectre with what you're saying about like the Global, the Storm Zip, the way to instantly get on the Drow Ranger. Once you get Orchid, you can just kill an Undying.
Yeah, I just don't know if the hero's a hero, you know? I just don't know if
it is. It's just like she's maybe 10th down the pecking order.
Yeah. But I mean, that's maybe how deep you're going to have to go to get one of these cores.
They have banned out a lot of them.
The Sven, okay.
Sure, I mean, you can like blink on the backlines and quick burst, right? And you've got Warcry, which is effective against the Drow. Luna, okay. Gonna have a lot of difficulty with just being able to get onto this Drow Ranger is the thing, but I suppose they're just going to be able to rely on the Storm and the Pango to be able to do that.
Yeah, Storm, Pango, Task, I guess they have ways of getting on top of it. Eclipse is going to be next to useless this game, that's for darn sure. But they have good ways of cleaving through these illusions, have good ways of being able to deal with these the summons as well. So you can still get that damage output for the Luna with the bouncing glaives. So potentially could just enable them to have this kind of ball where they can throw their Luna at towers, and eSpoiled would have to try and make a contest for them. And then they can jump the back lines with Young G and Covus 9. So Purple Paradise is going to fall back onto the Tiny once again. Really going to want to see a much more aggressive version of this game for Purple Paradise. And again, Waste 21 on the Undying. Is this going to be a good enough lane against Silencer Luna? Dirge Shadow Shaman?
Not necessarily, but you know what? I trust him. I trust him to be able to do it. I thought he played a pretty decent game on the axe that he had previously. It just came down to, like, he didn't have anyone to be able to play with at that stage of the game. You know, they weren't really truly connected. But this just puts even more emphasis on Ryota and Purple Paradise. As soon as you get those blink daggers, you better be doing something with them. And I think if you're... It's one of the things where, like, I wonder if the good teams are going to get much better, and the teams that are still kind of building up are going to be lagging a little bit behind with changes to sites like Dota 2 Pro Tracker, for example. You can't see the meta evolve in the pubs quite as easily. You need to wait until it's revealed in a tournament setup, and the top teams only play in the tournaments. They don't play in the qualifiers. So, you know, you're kind of behind the 8 ball a little bit. You're behind the meta a little bit, but if I'm playing a mid tiny, I look at GPK and I just do whatever GPK does, because he is the best mid tiny in the world without a question. I want to see bottle, soul ring, power treads, then a dagger, and then whatever you want after that. You know, it needs to be something like, I don't know, Silver Edge even, just something to be able to amp up your damage for the here and now and do a lot of burst and try and pick someone off in the duration of a Blink Hex Ward's Shackle.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the one thing that Purple Paradise can take away from that previous game. I'm sure there's definitely a lot of self-reflection in a game like that, and same with Nemiga as well. They're not without criticisms. So we're looking to see if they can pull this one back here for eSpoiled and try and at least get a run on the board. I think that's a thing for me, just trying to get a game inside these closed qualifiers. You know, 2-0 into being out of these regional qualifiers can be a little hit to the confidence for some of these players, but it is all still a learning experience. You know, a lot of these players still very brand new, don't have the same kind of experience as, you know, your players like XX Vampire, who has been kind of around the block for a long time. So we're seeing what they can bring in here for eSpoiled.
I wonder if they're just going to walk up this cliff or if they're going to take the long way around, because again, it's nighttime for the next 20 seconds and you're playing with a Luna. They're the ones that have the vision advantage right now, and they're going to be able to see the Shadow Shaman, but don't think they're going to be able to pick him off in time.
Or potentially they might try and go something there, but maybe XX Vampire is really just trying to hold on for this skill point to see maybe if you can get away with not having to get shards.
Free D-Ward.
D-Ward in the mid lane though.
Yep. Asdecor laying that one down beforehand. So it's a 5 Naga and a 4 Shadow Shaman this time around. We are seeing a few 5 Shadow Shamans, particularly in response to like a 3 Terrorblade and the like. But hold on, Asdecor, speaking of that Naga, he might be in a little bit of trouble.
All he has is the Deluge, and that is unfortunately not a good spot for him to be in. Monodrama gets the initial kill there, so a little bit of extra gold going his way.
So now they've got
sniped out.
Yeah, they got regen on Asdecor. He's got 2 sets of tangos, so it's not the worst.
So you can see why you hold that point for the Tuskar. Being able to get that extra bit of damage with the tag team there. Covers 9 is going to struggle in this lane. They're just going to have to side pull like cheeky buggers and basically say, see you, Drow. I ain't touching that with a 10-foot pole. So they're just going to leave that one be and really just hope that they're mid and side lane.
Drow?
Okay, this is not what I was expecting. I thought that Covus 9 was going to put up the crucifix and say be gone to this lane, but looks like he wants to play it out, and I mean,
not against the Tusk, you're not
to get it.
It's just one of those things that you just provides so much more damage early on into the piece, particularly with someone like a Pango, and once he's got that swashbuckle available, it's a lot of that burst damage that probably just wasn't expecting. And well, now that it's level 2 on Asdecor, it'll be a little bit more challenging for them to do that with the ensnare. It's the reel-in, well, it used to be the worst ability in the game when it was like a component of Aghanim Scepter, but now that you just get it by default, it's alright.
Yeah, most of the time things aren't bad, they're just not free.
Yes. Now it's alright, because you see some utility out of it, and, you know, as a support, you're actually looking to use it pretty frequently, especially when Deluge had the status resistance component to it too. Like, you just dragged people for so long, especially if they look to try and dive you underneath the tower. Made it a lot more challenging.
And also just having more accessibility to it. You know, how many people would want to waste the 4.2k gold to buy an Aghanim Scepter to test out Reel-In, whereas now that it's
Not
free,
me.
you can do some things and find some tech. It's always very interesting. Let's see if we can try and go here on to Snowy. So the Reel-In will be able to at least pull the Tuskar away, but you can just see the damage. The Pangolier and the tag team, this is... yeah, this not fun.
Not fun at all. And it's going to continue to not be fun. I mean, this is, again, just a level 2 Tusk. He's hitting on to level 3 after this creep, so probably going to have 1 point in Snowball, but could still hold it just for the 2nd point in the tag team as well, which he does. So he's really just going to bank on Snowy getting popped out of position once again, which he might be if he's not too careful. Very clearly just focusing on dragging this one back, making sure that he's in an unsafe position, but at least they were able to drag the small camp in.
Purple Paradise. Looking to try and get a solo kill here. Doesn't have any more of his spells available, so at least makes Young G weak at the knees.
Does indeed. Doesn't really seem like any of the supports want to be making rotations towards the mid lane just yet, though. Even, hold on, using the fortification here to try and...
They're going to kill Asdecor from the bottom side. There is a mid 1v1 that I do love watching, but the Naga Siren is able to walk away. Kovis9 is the swash with the tag team up, and now Ryota's able to get that return kill there onto Monodrama. Dropping the tombstone comes in from Waste 21.
And it's actually Bashka that's having the most difficult time in terms of the lanes, right? Like, Drow's died a couple of times, but still has a 200 net worth lead relative to the Luna. Maybe 3
tag
times.
Team. No, swashbuckle from Kovis9, so didn't want to go too deep into this, and so they didn't get that extra bonus damage from the level 2 tag team. But well, he's copping the business. They will go forward here once again. XS Vampire is going to walk at him, and now with Kovis9
body blocks
does have the swashbuckle, but it was a nice little gust to be able to at least get a little bit of distance, but it wasn't enough.
Asdecor blocked his own teammate in there. That was just Naga Siren breaking off the only avenue for escape, and ends up dying a 3rd time now. Still slightly ahead of the Luna, but Luna's about to overtake after the next creep that he's able to claim. So not the smoothest start to this game for a Drow Ranger that was picked, you know, paired together with the with the Undying. The Naga Siren, you would probably expect that it's going to be going a little bit better, but you've still got avenues to be a menace once the team fights do actually break out and you get past the, you know, let's say level 7 stage where you can start dishing out a little bit more damage from afar, because in terms of the mid lane, you're doing all right on Purple Paradise, right? Like, you're going up against the Storm Spirit. Yeah, Storm's got a little bit of a lead over you, but it's certainly not anything that's unrecoverable. He has the bottle, he's got the soul ring ready to come out to him now as well. And we've got a bunch of people actually rotating towards mid for these power runes.
Ryota is dead. So he's going to try his best to be a bit of a nuisance, but unfortunately for him, he's a level 3 Shadow Shaman. So he will lose his life here.
Distraction plays worked though, you know, 2 people moved away from the power runes. The luck was on their side as well, with Tiny able to walk down solo towards the bottom rune. It's only an illusion. It could be a lot better for sure, but still better than a kick in the teeth.
That's true. We'll take that end day of the week. able to secure at least something
Top
for
lane.
his mid laner. They are seeing if they can try and get this turnaround going here for Monodroma. That is just so much damage. They're able to at least deal with a lot of these different zombies. Ryota wants to try and walk through this quick creep wave, but they don't finish off the kill there. It's a little bit far away from the tombstone, means that the silencer will walk away scot-free.
They do, you know, kind of push that lane out by dropping the tombstone and using all these spells, so there's no danger of anyone contesting this 7-minute wisdom rune, so at least they'll be able to claim that for themselves. And again, like, they don't exactly have the greatest tower takers on the eSpoiled side, so getting Shadow Shaman secured up into his level 6 is going to be pretty vital in terms of opening up the map, making sure that you're able to, you know, get some deep wards in and contest a bunch of the stacks that Bashka is going to be looking to try and farm if you're able to take out that top tier 1 tower.
And that'll be the kind of name of the game for, I feel like, both of these core players. Try and take these tier 1 towers on the Drought, and the Lunar Excess Vampire just pops some frost arrows for his trouble. Doesn't lose anything else from it. Relatively slow start for both of these two teams. There's a few kills going one way or the other, but nothing really explosive the first 7 minutes.
No, definitely not. Silence is coming in, and I don't know if Purple Paradise got a quick glimpse of him. Could have potentially looked to try and kill the silencer if he was in there.
Tuska's here too.
4-person rotation.
Yeah, this is definitely a dead Tiny. It does have a lot of one charges, but it's just not going to be enough. And a regen rune as well for Young G. Oh, licking your lips, salivating right now. Feel the storm.
Even has the power treads coming out to him as well, so more of that damage, and this is what I like seeing, you know, just shove the lane under the tower, quickly pick up the farm, move back, force someone to have to defend it, otherwise they lose a lot of net worth, and then while they're looking to try and address this, make a play somewhere else. Looks like it might be down towards the bottom side, considering Rolling Thunder is available, and you can be potentially looking for any sorts of stacks that might have been built up, but it doesn't seem like they've been able to do any of that just yet. And they're on the hunt.
Well, they're trying to make the go here on the Lunar and the top side of the map, and they will just walk in and they'll take down Bashka.
They found
But on the other side, they're looking to see if they can find Snovy. So let's see if they can get the response. There's so many people that are hunting this Drow. Oh, he gets caught inside of the shards, and that will mean that the Drow Ranger goes down again. So the trade carry for carry here, seeing about whether or not they can trade T1 towers.
Not quite yet level 6 on the Shaman, so probably going to be a little bit slower there. I'd imagine that they're going to have an easier time on Nemiga taking care of it, but it doesn't really seem like anyone's looking to try and respond with a defense on their side up until we see a TP come up here now on the Silencer.
Bashka is able to walk their way in. They do have Covis 9 here as well with the Rolling Thunder. Ryota is the one that they're going to try and look for, but Covis 9 rolls a little bit away from the Shadow Shaman. They've brought in the Drow as well, so they eventually do take down that pesky support. Not without Snovy making the rotation towards top side. This is something that we've seen quite a while ago. Bashka's going to walk in. Aztecar, unfortunately, you walked in underneath the Eclipse. Oh, he wants to try and walk away. Almost tried to play dumb. Doesn't get away far enough from the Lunar. And then once again, so much damage goes in onto Snovy. And he is having a dog's breakfast of a game number 2 here on the Drow Ranger. Not having a good time at all for eSpoiled.
0, 5, and 0 at this stage on a Drow Ranger, which is not the way that you want to be starting this one out. And maybe they're rethinking, should we have had this Undying in this sort of switch-up role? He has been doing a pretty good job on the Undying, though, right? 1-0-1, Luna not exactly having the greatest start to this game, but it just comes down to what have you given up for it? And really, it does center around a lot of the positioning that happened on the bottom side of the map, right? Both giving up the first blood, continuously putting yourself a little bit too aggressively positioned in a lot of these team fights, and well, what do they really need to try and save themselves? I would say a 4-staff needs to be the go for basically everyone on eSpoiled, but no one can really afford to get it right now or anytime soon. This would be a great pickoff, though. They know exactly where Luna is.
Yep, they found her out. They're going to drop the tombstone. Ryota's here as well, so they will be able to deal with the position 1, so it's not just all doom and gloom. They get a little bit of a win here, and it means they're going to be able to take down this tier 1 tower as well. But about whether or not they can survive the trade, it's like Covis 9 is going to pick up a free one on the bottom side as well.
again, we mentioned how good he is on the Pango. Top of the net worth by a fair amount, and he's got a diffusal blade coming out to him as well. So, I mean, if you're able to focus that one into a mid-tiny, especially if Purple Paradise chooses to itemize in a similar way to what he did in game number 1, you're just going to completely take away his effectiveness if he just has 0 mana to be able to play around with.
Yeah, I really hope and pray to our Lord Gaben that Purple Paradise does just go for, I'm going to try and burst someone build, and especially when Pangolier picks up this diffusal blade, it's not like he gets that much tankier. 1200 HP, pretty easy to burst through. So I'm really hoping to see if they try and put the pedal to the metal here for eSpoiled. They've got a lot of these stacks to try and play around, but it's all about whether or not they can utilize the parts of the map that they want to try and play in once these stacks have been gobbled up. You're going to try and make a go here on a Purple Paradise, but with both of the supports just kind of hovering around. They do have Covus 9 making his way across here to get reeled in almost towards the top side of the map.
Yeah, absolutely. Really just comes down to, I think, I mean, I was about to say waiting for a few ultimates, but we got them all except for Aztecor. He is the only one still left without it, and honestly that teamfight disruption is going to be pretty huge. You know, it really does put a lot more pressure onto Monodrama to be able to be on point with that global silence, and it gives them a little bit of a time window to have to actually secure a bunch of these kills rather than just having the freedom to continuously jump. So something like an amp damage rune is going to be absolutely perfect for Young G to have to be able to play around with. They see Snowy again.
Yeah, and they're looking to see if they can jump in onto the Drow. Snowy behind this tier 2 tower. Aztecor to provide that body block, but with the Ice Shard missing, it's probably for them to alleviate a bit of the pressure.
He's all the way back to the triangle. Looks like they realize that this is probably what's been happening. An instant smoke coming through. 3-man gank rotation. Purple Paradise, I mean, again, playing kind of like a support in terms of like where his positioning is, and poor level 7 Drow Ranger. Nice little save.
Alive. They have to be careful. They eventually do get the kill there as well, so they've overextended here. They lose out Young G as well, so Purple Paradise is finally able to get in towards the backline and get those beautiful tiny pickoffs, and they will be able to eventually close down on the Tuskar. So excess Vampire. So Nemiga, they went deep to try and take down this Drow, but it looks like eSpoiled. They were more than ready.
They were indeed. Little lippy by Snowy, just dropping the double voice line after his 6th death, but you know what? He must have been feeling pretty frustrated at that stage, so for them to be able to get away with a 3-for-1 trade, probably worthwhile. I mean, even just the assist gold is probably getting him more than he's had in this last little bit of time. That was just with amp damage as well.
Some of these kills could be okay.
And Monodrama just wasn't able to drop the global silence as well. We have to consider how much that played into their potential to, not get away with a pretty clean trade there. Really nice positioning by Purple Paradise. Again, he was level, I don't think he was level 7. The Drow was level 7. I think he was maybe 9 and a little bit, and he's almost level 11 off the back of all of that.
He's building towards the 4-staff early here.
I don't mind the 4-staff. I just don't want to see a Yules in a 4-staff, because it's fine if you want to go this 4 protect 1 strat and going up against, see you later Undying.
No, Waste 21. He was one of the ones who was really starting to build up that net worth lead, and now Ryota was standing behind his buddy. He wants to try and walk away here. They still have to try and get this kill onto the Shadow Shaman, but with the Ceaseless Dirge, it means that now that Waste 21 has come back into this fight, they're going to try and reset with the Song of the Siren. So Aztecor will be able to walk into the entirety of Nemiga. You can just see that Bash goes in a very, very awkward spot. Avatos combo goes in onto Luna and throws her into the clutches of eSpoiled.
Denies even.
Covus 9 is able to not get away from eSpoiled, and they're starting to win these fights here, Dan, or they're starting to pull this game back, and Snowy with the double kill on the Drow Ranger is able to hold on to the bottom side of the cause when it comes to net worth. But hold on, they do.
The big thing for mine is that they're just not getting that quick burst that they're really needing at the start of a lot of these engagements, as poor Silencer probably about to drop into the grave once again. Monodrama, I mean, they used the global silence that time around. That's better, right? But it just wasn't that clean snap kill that they've been hoping for, and In Waste 21, we keep hyping up how well he's been playing. He's the one that gets jumped on. He has, of course, the Ceaseless Dirge, so he's able to very quickly rejoin the team fight, and you just see the value of this Tombstone. It stays up for the majority of it and gets denied by Naga Siren towards the very end. So he's certainly giving them a lot of value, and you see, again, once that Song of the Siren is used, you're able to just reposition yourself perfectly to be able to follow up after the fact.
Yeah, you can just see that, you know, now Purple Paradise is able to get a lot of these early kills on the Tiny, and it's something that usually what comes up when you look at these Tiny players is what happens when you get that first Blink Dagger. How many of these extra kills are you able to get? How much of the snowball are you able to create? And that's exactly something that Purple Paradise has actually been able to get this time around, has been that extra bit of snowball.
They're using the Observer Ward placed by Ryota after that engagement to be able to potentially go for another kill here. This is level 12 Tiny as well, so they want the Luna. Are they going to be able to be patient enough to be able to focus down the Tusk instead? They're actually leaving entirely. I'm a little surprised that they didn't just try and get a Tusk kill if he's going to move on forward like that. Instead, they're going to wait until they're in a much safer position. That's very odd to me. And now walking out into the lane, so they're going to see the Shadow Shaman's positioning.
There's a small little break in their communication there, I'd imagine. So we'll see.
So again, I don't mind the 4-star on the Tiny this game, just because of who you're up against. You know, you want to make space away from the Luna. You want to get away from the Rolling Thunder. You want to save people out of the Ice Shards. Drow Ranger, still going to be a little bit until she's able to get into that Hurricane Pike, just because she needs the raw damage output at this stage of the game. So if you can afford her that little bit of extra safety at this stage, by all means, go for it, right? But I'm happy that we're not seeing a Yules. The Boots of Travel is still a little odd to me, but it's his style, so I'm happy to go for it. After that period, though, I'm going to need to see some form of damage. You know, something versatile, like a Shadow Blade even. Don't even need to go into the Silver Edge. Just the Shadow Blade would be enough for me.
We'll see if that's the corner that he walks down, whether or not it'll be a repeat. So very even flat game right now between both these two teams. Nemiga kind of just got clapped in one of these last fights and looking to see if they can try and catch out the Dirge here. Weighs 21, pots the BKB. Ooh.
Yep.
9-second BKB for not much, and there's no Ceaseless Dirge either, so they're going to see what they can do here for Purple Paradise. Trying to go forward here up onto the Tuskar, and unfortunately for XX Vampire, he's just going to lose his life. But he keeps his Luna safe, and they take down the core Undying.
Do indeed. Maybe just thinking, you know, it was the 100% magic damage reduction, but no, only 50%. It's been that way for quite some time. Not able to get out of that one with his life, and well, it is a bit of a bummer to be giving up your Undying like that, considering he has been playing a very, very solid game up until that stage. Honestly, all the cores, look how even they are in net worth overall. Might not be the case, though, as Snowy ends up getting caught out. He's in a very precarious position.
They're on the backside as well. Covis 9 just went into a very random spot. He actually is able to assassinate Monodrama. So they went for the Rolling Thunder here from Covis 9. It doesn't really get much out of it. They do lose the Shadow Shaman here. Bashka's really just trying to run away from this Naga Siren. Wants to try and get as much space away from her as he possibly can. But there is just so many members from eSpoiled who are just chasing him down. And it looked like the Hunter became the hunted. Especially with the Luna there, just unfortunately getting into a bad spot, and now they get the shard onto the Naga Siren. What does it even do?
Gives the regen. Yeah, feels very nice. Gives a little bit of that extra regen. Gives some mana back as well. Yeah, mana's kind of nice, I suppose, considering you've got Undying trying to spam his spells. He's only got the Soul Ring to be able to play around with. Tiny, of course, too. Anyone with just like max HP that's through the roof is going to get mega value out of that Naga ulti, because it is percentage based.
Just a good little reset button.
Yeah. Even just using the illusions to scout now in preparation for that 21-minute wisdom rune. Seeing some pings, and I think the illusion just briefly walked into vision, so I'm interested to see what's going to happen here. They don't have the Song of the Siren this time around, so I'm not sure if the Watcher actually caught that illusion or not, but we've got Bashka coming in here, and Just a simple Eclipse drop should be enough to kill, but it's daytime, so he's probably going to see the Luna before Luna sees him.
Oh, Azteca.
He'll back up in time.
Tuska's here though. Excess Vampire. He's around in the area. Oh, doesn't catch the Runaga, so he will walk away for now. So
interesting builds coming out here. We've got a Aghanim Scepter coming through for Bashka on his Luna, and you were mentioning during the draft that it is not a great Scepter game unless you're able to just toss it onto your Storm Spirit and let him run onto the back line and just have it, you know, being an ion cannon and just wiping out this Drow Ranger. Remember, you've still got the Silencer to be playing around with as well. Really is going to emphasize the importance of this BKB timing from Snovey. Now that he's got the Hurricane Pike and the Manta Style, it's the next point of call for him. It's just a matter of when is he going to be able to pick that one up. It's probably at least another 5 minutes away.
My prayers are answered.
A little bit of extra time. So we will see if this Ags is going to pay off for Bashka. You can throw it onto the Pangolier as well, which provides you with that little bit of extra damage in the fight. So we'll see if it pays off. I'm interested in the fact that Waste 21 hasn't gone for any of these auras. You know, Crimson Guard specifically against the Luna. Just making a lot of these little extra tidbits of damage kind of go by the wayside. Even a pipe wouldn't be too bad because, you know, at this point you're really trying to focus on the Drow Ranger. The Tiny knows his role. Blink in, try and kill the Silencer as quickly as humanly as possible. Maybe try and put the Tuskar a little bit off edge.
The big thing that's standing out to me is, you know, you talk about a few of these big item timings. The one for mine that's on a position 5, surprisingly enough, me talking about pos 5s, is the Guardian Greaves coming through from Azdecor. I think that's the big thing here because Silencer doesn't have the, what was it, resonating silence anymore. Like that facet is just gone. So if you pop that Guardian Greaves, you're going to be able to song every single time. You know, there is a reset button available for your team to be able to, you know, nullify a lot of the damage coming through. There's no AA this game either. So the heal from the Greaves, the heal from the Song of the Siren, especially buffed up with that Aghanim Shard, is going to be so critical to the success of eSpoiled in these future team fights.
We'll see how these next couple of clutch items do come out. As you said, there's a decent amount on the horizon here, so we're getting close to the Aghanims for Bashka.
I want this game to go long. I want to see Azdecor get into all of these items that he wants. He's going to have Holy Locket, so buffing up not only Song of the Siren, but his Greaves, and then the Aghanim Scepter to buff up the Realians, specifically against this freaking Pango Rolling Thunder. That's going to be the big thing. But, of course, he is anticipating this, and he's already going for that Lotus Orb, you know, realizing that, you know what, I need to make sure that I'm not getting countered when I'm trying to, you know, just get in onto the back lines and deal with them.
Just needs to get in there and ensure that he can deal the damage here. So game is slowed down to a crawl. Both teams are looking to just try and complete those next couple of items, trying to hit those next power spikes before they do progress. There's not really too many objectives on the map. There's only really Roshan, especially with the Tormentor going the way of eSpoiled.
It really does feel like both teams are just kind of waiting for it to be up on the top side of the map. I would say eSpoiled in particular. You know, they've still got their tier 1 tower to be able to play around with. They've still got good control over the outpost, the Watcher in that sort of area. And I mean, they don't want to fight until they've got these BKBs for themselves. So the emphasis is really on Nemiga to try and get something happening. You've now got a BKB on your Storm Spirit. You've got Global Silence up and available again. Link Dagger on the Tusk. Not quite yet level 12, but shouldn't really matter. And, I mean, just using these Naga Siren mirror images off cooldown, essentially, gives a lot of information. Because if no one's dealing with a lot of this stuff, then it's very clear that they've gone for a smoke.
You're in deep now.
And even, as we just saw then, in the middle lane, just being able to reveal some of these players when they get their smoke popped by someone else.
I think
the passive vision.
Ashka right-clicked as well after using the Lucid Beam onto the Naga Illusion, so they actually see that he's got the Aghanim Scepter too. So I wonder if that's, again, going to influence how they're trying to take these next few fights. They're just going to go straight on into Roche. Naga Illusions, though, know exactly what's happening. Just bringing it closer.
Paradise as well as Drow. Snowy are in the top side of the map, so they may have just found a small little window here. Waste 21 wants to come in. The Drow will TP and they want to try and just deal with this tombstone. So they get rid of that nice and quickly here. So Bashka will go towards the back line. Young G, very, very careful. Cova's 9 though, goes in towards the background. They're seeing if they can try and get anything done.
Not a
with
great global.
Silence. They have done nothing with the ultimate abilities. They're trying to go directly here on top of the Drow. Range of the BKBs being popped. No damage comes out here from Young G. They get rid of the Naga Siren. And now Snowy has to walk backwards. They're seeing if they go back here onto Purple Paradise. Wanting to see if they can take down this Tiny. Cova's 9 though. He's the one that loses his life early on. They just don't have the damage, it seems, to try and take down some more of these heroes. And now the Luna, she's the one that's in the trouble here. Bashka is just going to get taken down by the Drow Ranger, and Snowy with the double kill. What looked like a great initiation coming in from the Nemiga meant that they just didn't touch anyone with these big ultimates, and they just got kited out.
They got kited out completely. The global silence didn't hit onto anything. Pretty quick blink out to be able to counter that one. Felt like a little bit of a desperation, Roshan, to be honest. But again, Asdakor has been doing a phenomenal job of just kiting out, or rather having information about the other team, where he's able to just pick out, all right, this is what they're doing at this point in time. Let's respond to it in this way. And I mean, it's not at that point just yet, but you could still see a scenario where with just the one BKB that they have at that point, he could have even gone for an Aegis steal at that point if he wanted to try and 1v5 it.
Could have been potential, but now with Roche being as low as he was.
Tuscan Storm.
Watch it. See if they can try and go for the steal here. XX Vampire goes in. Storm zips away. He does get the Aegis. A big steal comes in from XX Vampire. You would have loved to have gotten it there on your Storm Spirit with Young G. Now they're going to try and get this fight going. They're going to jump in as well. The Drow Ranger's getting stuck inside of the pitch. He's in that BKB. Wants to stand and try and fight. Ryota though, he's the one that loses his life early on. The foul play goes down. The BKB starting to wear out here for the Drow. Going up onto the high ground. Not really much mana is left available for them. So Snowy wants to try and get away from these heroes. He's quite tanky here on the Drow Ranger. How much extra damage do they have? Not enough, it seems. Waste 21. Wasn't sure about whether or not that tombstone tried to save his teammate or if it was a hindrance more than a help. And again, these fights are back and forth here, Dan.
Yeah, Vampire getting a well-deserved tip there, and that was even... the Eclipse was used incorrectly as well. It was just used onto the Luna, ended up hitting a couple of neutral creeps and a few illusions, and that was about it. So, you know, not even the perfect storm coming through from Nemiga, and not only do they snatch the Aegis, they also get a pretty clean team fight victory as well, and a BKB charge used on the Drow Ranger, so down to 8 seconds now as well.
Just being able to put the hurt down on her means that these fights are potentially starting to go their way. Just very low on the mana there for Purple Paradise. You can just see in this replay, it was just very hard for him to try and engage. He just couldn't really do much, and whether that's off the back of using too many of these spells and not getting the reset, or whether or not it is mainly just about this Diffusal Blade coming in from Covis 9.
Did you see what happened there? So the Tiny tried to move in to toss back the Drow to the Undying, and he ended up grab allying him in place instead. So he didn't actually move at all. So it's you know, you see the idea is there, but the execution just hasn't been on point in these last couple of fights for eSpoiled.
Yeah, and I think it also bugged him out too. I don't think he actually got inside of the tombstone because he died to a swashbuckle. So that's why I was like, when I looked at it, it looked like potentially he got tossed to the Undying, and the Undying tombstones like in front of the Drow rather than actually tombstoning the Drow.
Yeah.
Weird interaction. They tried. They really did. But again, now back to parity between both these two teams. Aegis is off the deck for both of them. And you can just see that I feel like this game is going to come down to execution now. Just with the way that a lot of these team fights are going, it's about whether or not the Tiny can get into that backline, try and catch out a few more of these heroes. Really just trying to, you know, abuse the Yules, try and get in, take him down. He's got the BKB now as well here for the Tiny, but again, just no damage for that mid laner.
Drow.
So she's walking up. They can see the arrows.
Yeah, I mean, she was smoked underneath that ward, so you know exactly what's going on here. Can look to try and maybe make a pincer move, but you wouldn't want to get caught out at the start of this fight on the silencer. I think he needs to just get completely out of dodge.
Yep, they will Delta split. And they will use this time to re-push out these lanes and sit back and hover. So we're getting close to the Tormentor respawning. As if there's not a Tormentor respawn thing on the UI yet. Like the base UI from Valve.
Yeah. They just want people to not have to turn their brains off, I guess. They're going for a smoke of their own. Understandable. They just hit a bunch of big timings, and most notably the BKB for the Luna, so isn't going to get caught out in these situations where, you know, if you use an early Manta style, you have to worry about the gust. You want to be able to, you know, commit in alongside the rest of your team when that global silence is popped, so that you can land that eclipse onto the correct hero. So you've even got a blink dagger on the Pangolier as well, so really just wants to be right there in the thick of things. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it really forces you to have to turn around and try and kill him. But again, not going to be able to do so. You know, like this Pango has actually gone away from the Lotus. He's building into now the AC into the Refresher. So it's kind of been going back and forth between what people's quick buy has been. Like now they're going for a Vlad's on the Naga Siren instead of the Aghanim Scepter, just because it's something that's going to give them some value right now. And I think like they feel like their timing is right now, or at least very soon, considering 900 gold away from an Aghanim Scepter on the Undying. Tiny's not really picking up anything major soon, just got a BKB, I believe, but not too far away from the Butterfly either on the Drow.
Yeah, that'll be big. The Drow Butterfly. But it's a lot of magic damage though. Comes in from the Mega. Be very cautious for the Drow. So wait and see. It seems like it's potentially some camera problems from eSpoiled.
Where's Storm? He's close to his level 20. But not going to get it before the outcome of this smoke. So, all right, I'm trying to formulate like the ideal team fight for Nemiga. Probably pick off Shadow Shaman just because he dies so damn fast. Like he's got 0 items that are going to give him any sort of HP. Not even the enchantment for his neutral item is going to help him in that regard. So just find the backline, quickly burst him down. If you can get onto the Naga as well, I guess that's kind of okay. But I mean, you've got 2 BKBs and a Rolling Thunder, so that's not going to be affected by the Song of the Sirens. So honestly, you could probably just look to try and focus down the Drow Ranger. You know, BKB be damned. Just still just focus everything in onto her once the Shadow Shaman's dead.
Yeah, I think the raw physical output that you've got from some of these other cores really can just not worry about that BKB at all. So we'll have to wait and see if that's how this fight's want to pan out, especially now with the BKB being up for Bashka. Getting close to building that next damage item for themselves. I feel like this Ag Scepter could have been utilized in a different scenario. A little bit more of that gold going one way or another, but that's why we like Eastern European qualifiers down on, because we get to see some different stuff. Not saying that Ag is different. It's just I feel like there potentially could have been some other carry players that would have gone much more traditional route. You know, going in directly into that Hurricane Pike, BKB, Satanic Butterfly, just trying to end the game that way. But get a little
and
bit
then
of turn from spice.
From the eSpoiled side of things, I'm just trying to formulate how they're going to respond to a bunch of these team fights. Obviously, they're not the ones in the position of being able to decide, considering they're not smoking and they still want to get into these next couple of items. But their ideal scenario is that Waste 21 is the one that gets engaged upon, you know, and all you need is like half a second for him to be able to pop the Blade Mail, pop the BKB, pop the Gale Guard, pop the Flesh Golem, drop a Tombstone down, and you're good. So as long as you've got Aztecor on the back lines, just within range of the Guardian Greaves, as soon as that global silence gets popped, just use Song of the Siren, you know, because it's basically a pretty happy one-for-one trade, and you either force Nemiga to pop all their BKBs and try and engage, and maybe the healing's going to be enough to be able to save the Undying during any sort of lockdown that he might be going under. But if not, they've still used the majority of their BKBs to be able to do it, right? And you might have some damage coming back the other way from Snowy.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty straightforward plan. I feel like a lot of this kind of does come down to both the supports. It's what a lot of these metas really have been kind of divulging into. These supports really having quite a lot of work to do. So we will see once we get ourselves back into the game, ladies and gentlemen. See what we get this time around.
I'm reading some of the flavor text on some of these new abilities, like chicken fingers. Even a brief moment as a chicken is long enough to make most would-be aggressors rethink their mark.
That's actually pretty good flavor text as far as flavor text goes.
Just like, what if you were a chicken?
Started reading.
Like, how would your mind change? Probably not much, to be honest. You're pretty.
Hey, yo. Well, I mean, I guess the question is, do you learn all of your chicken instincts in that one instant? Or does Aztecor learn all of his Naga instincts at one go as well? Waste 21. Ooh, pops the BKB.
This is not the way they wanted to start.
It's the amplified damage that comes up now as well here from Young G, and they just burn through that BKB. They've double smoked behind, or triple smoked behind this, and it just doesn't really matter. Helping the Ceaseless Dirge as well is not a good way, because these next couple of minutes of these fights are just not going to have that second life.
I mean, Aztecor was standing on the top of the cliff, which is fine if you want to be the one popping the smoke, but he was standing right next to a Watcher, which he started to channel as the smoke popped. It was very weird. Very, very weird. Anyway, he's going to be up in 3 seconds anyway, but that was your 7-second BKB, I believe, on Waste, so gets rid of some of his unreliable gold, sets him back a little bit on being able to finish up his Aghanim Scepter. But they didn't really use anything big on Nemiga to be able to make that happen, just some Storm mana, basically, and well, that's going to bring him a whole lot closer towards his Shivas, so that's going to be great at making the effects of that Naga Siren, Song of the Siren, a little bit less impactful when they are going for that quick pick-off. It might, enable them to pop all of their BKBs and just say, we can wipe out this target, heals or not. The Shiva's Guard is going to be enough to be able to go through that.
Especially now with these galvanized stacks starting to stack up for the Storm Spirit.
Another smoke.
So they got themselves the Tormentor kill now, and so we will have the foul play going back to the old broken foul play. But he can now use items, so probably even more broken.
Very fun.
All right, Nemiga. They're looking to see if they can try and catch out some of these members from eSpoiled. This game is on a knife's edge. And it really does feel like one big team fight can push it one way or another, considering how close this net worth chart is. Walking directly underneath the ward here is Young G. It's not the real one.
Hold on. Can they see him? Oh, they see an illusion. They see another illusion.
He punched the wrong one.
I don't think he even saw it. I was looking at Nemiga Vision and they didn't even see the real one. So obviously done by Aztecor to be able to play around that. They will get de-warded still, but you know what? Worth. That's another smoke that's been popped. It's another little bit of timings that they're trying to still get into, and you still didn't quite have the butterfly on the Drow Ranger, just 500 or so gold away. So all of this stuff is really just giving them such valuable time to be able to get into their next items. Now you've got the Aghanim Scepter for the Undying. Only about 400 gold away from the Vlads as well for Naga herself, so it's all good stuff.
It's just delay until they can reach that critical mass with the Drow Ranger. She becomes a hero very deep into this game, especially when it's going to be all about trying to get on top of her as well. And Tiny's finally been able to get into the position where they can potentially try and help. In a lot of these team fights, kind of Saving Private Ryan, you just get a lot of that repositioning that comes in from the Tiny playing much more of that, as you were saying after game number 1, that much more of a supporting Tiny role, where it's all about getting a lot of this repositioning, not so much about the damage.
Still a little worried about them from that damage perspective, though. Like, yes, Drow having the butterfly means that she can actually tank up a little bit of this. She's got, of course, Force Staffs and BKB to be able to play around with, and the full supporting cast. But is it enough when you compare it with a legitimate Tricore that they've got on Nemiga, able to output damage from every angle?
That's what we'll have to wait and see. You know, the question being answered. So Ryota is
smokes.
sitting on this tier 3 token, neutral token. So someone wants to try and go for you.
Might have just got bad choices. Going for a smoke in the run. I think they saw it, and that's why they're going for this big zip.
Oh, big global silence, and they want to see if they can try and get their Pangolier out of here, but they don't. So the BKB is being popped, same with the global silence, and it's time now for you to run for Nemiga. And they will be able to catch out the silencer, but with Monodrama, doesn't really matter. He's already lost his life, and I didn't really catch the start of that fight, but Cobusnine was just so deep, and they just popped everything trying to get that kill going their way. And they don't get anything out of it. Ryota at least.
Didn't need to walk in that far. I mean, he's got the Blink Dagger to be able to play around with, so could have channeled the Rolling Thunder away from the Watcher. They knew the smoke was happening. That's why Storm went in with that big zip, popping the Shivas just for all of the vision. But yeah, it was just the rest of your teamfight control was already dead. Considering maybe Bashka could have thrown the Eclipse in onto the Storm Spirit before he went in, but just wanting to wait out those BKB timings, cause a little bit of panic. But well, again, we're sitting in a pretty even situation. eSpoiled 62% win probability. About as high as it's been, despite the fact that they used to have a 7k net worth advantage, even though it's down to just 1.
Now we're looking towards the Roche pit once again. Global silence, still moments away.
No flesh golem.
So nobody wants to come walk in here and fight. They have no ceaseless dirts. They need to go into this fight right now. Drop the Eclipse inside of the pit. They will just summon the Siren. But it's about getting the Roche. They've walked directly away from the Roche pit, so that means they were able to get the Aegis here onto the Storm Spirit. They're going to turn back around, but look at all the damage that the Drow is doing. Standing and delivering. They want to see if they can try and get this fight going. She goes up onto the high ground now, thanks to that shard. She gets stuck into the stairs, and this Butterfly is doing a lot of work for her. They go inside of the Tombstone and gets enough distance with lookalike the Storm. On the backside, Young G really trying to take down this Drow Ranger, and again, these cores are just trying to take down Snowby and aren't able to do it just yet. The BKB from the Storm isn't back up once again. The Shackles is there, and that is so much damage from the Drow Ranger. Stands and deliver the ultra kill from the Drow is enough to get it done.
Yeah, no, that was crazy amount of work. We talk about the difference between, you know, the solo core, the tri-core, but if you can get an initiation like that, it's kind of crazy that they were able to get away with it. I mean, they were more focused on just standing on top of the Drow Ranger, making sure that they were able to disable the marksmanship, but she was just dishing out way too much that it wasn't even a factor. They just moved away from this as well, so the Eclipse was just hitting Roshan on its own. That's why they were able to take it out so quickly.
I thought with the Aegis going in the hands of Young G, it was going to be all she wrote, but with this shard coming in from Snovy, it was just, he was just able to constantly reposition, and the Butterfly just meant there was just so many of these different auto attacks that just didn't go through. Just not that much damage that came in from the Luna. He just doesn't really have those right-click items, right? It's mainly just the Hurricane Pike and the Manta style, and not having that extra bit of physical damage just meant that the Drow Ranger was able to stand and deliver, and now it's just gotten to the point where Drow is by and far one of the strongest cores that we have here in the game. Is if we're able to just constantly keep her alive and kite around, then the damage that she can do is very, very scary.
For sure. And again, this is just amped up by everything that they've got. You know, you've got the Vlads, you've got the heal component coming out from the Song of the Siren there. You have all of the vision that the Tombstone is providing. So it just gives Drow these perfect targets to just lock in on every single time in these team fights. And you can see that I think Bashka knows, look, it's time to start being more of a right-click threat going into the Silver Edge, which is, it's all right. But after that, the Satanic, you know, just to be able to stand your ground and actually look to try and take a few of these team fights.
Exactly. So, seems like we've got our work cut out for ourselves now if we are the cause of either Nemiga or
the Drow Ranger.
Yep.
Sorry, my brain just stopped working.
No, that's all right. It happens.
Couldn't think of the next word for eSpoiled. So we really need to try and just get to these positions where they can really start to stand and deliver in a lot of these fights. And you know, this Aghanim Scepter build coming in from the Luna really has not worked out. It really feels like Eclipse has not been a spell this game. But
maybe once she's not even like I need that
25
full ion cannon, you know, but it's not the level 25 anymore. So it's just like
another mini stun, yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, we'll see if it pans out. I mean, he could always just eat it and fill in that slot, so it's not the end of the world for it. I've got the refresher now on the silencer, so Nemiga do have a lot of weapons in their arsenal, but it's just Snovey after what was it? Was it a 0-6 start for Snovey? Yep. He's 12-7 now.
He was 0-5-0. Then they went for that gank on in the ancient camp, and it was 0-6-3 because it was that 3-man turnaround. Will Storm be tempted by this regen rune? I don't think he even knows that it's there, so lucky for him. Oh, he's really looking to just try and enable his upcoming Aghanim's purchase as well. Speaking of Young G, chose to go for the magnifying monocle instead of his I've already forgotten what his previous neutral item was. I was just looking at it, but anyway, he just wants to get that big grip in so that you are going to get mega value out of, you know, Arcane Curse, out of any sort of Rolling Thunder engagement. Sorry, I just saw Covis 9 start to wind up the Rolling Thunder, but no one's nearby, at least at this point in time. Did we see who got the Roshan's banner?
No one has it.
Gone. Is it in the pit? That was
they use it,
right? I doubt it. Maybe
yeah, it definitely was top. Because Excess Vampire snatched the first one.
Oh well.
They must have used it in the top push, or maybe it's sitting in base.
Maybe not. Who are we jumping here? I think they might have got a glimpse of Ryota, who's going to be able to blink away to, I'm gonna say safety, but daytime. They see the shaman. They see the shaman. They
Okay, they've been able to do it, and they find the real one. Wonder if they were going to expel anything more for that.
These other lanes are pretty heavily pushed in though, so it's not like they can even really do anything off the back of it. All three lanes, honestly. Like, top lane is always going to do it off the back of these super creeps, but bottom lane just kind of being shoved in by the Tiny a little bit, going for the Wind Waker. So again, just more protection for Snovey, who's level 25 now as well, so greater marksmanship chance too.
It becomes oh so dangerous with that marksmanship. There's so much damage, especially now with the Daedalus. Could you imagine how much longer...
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, could you imagine... I was just having a little thought to myself. Could you imagine how much longer Dota games would be if it was like League of Legends and barracks respawned?
Please no. That's repair kit all over again, and we know how that was.
You would have to make them like get... I mean, basically the same as League. Like, their buildings get like 2 tapped. So it's like you would just have to make them get like 2 shot.
I mean, they basically do these days with a Sven, you know, at this stage with how farmed he can get. Level 25 on the Tiny, actually, and he's got Wind Waker completed as well, so talk about these big power spikes that he's able to get into, and with the Octarine and the level 25 talent, just a 4.5 second cooldown for that Avalanche, so while these BKBs are now getting very, very short in duration, his level of effectiveness is going to ramp up massively. So it makes the next fight so vital for Nemiga. I honestly feel like if they lose this one, there's no coming back for them.
Yeah, it really does feel like that they're just... With how close the Luna is in touching distance through the Drow, if you lose another fight, that's just going to balloon out, and then Drow's going to be multiple items above. Oh, Excess Vampire, that is a jump they would like to have back. They're just going to come in now with the Global Silence on top of the Rolling Thunder. There's just a lot of these abilities to try and to buy a little bit of this extra space. So,
Cobus
That's a
line
good
goes
rip.
in, the blue hole goes in as well. They've got the orbital cannon. Look at the damage they could do here onto the cores, but it's all about the Drow Ranger. That's the one where you need to put your focus here. You're looking towards eSpoiled, seeing if they can try and get Snowy away. Goes up into the air as well, wants to try and stand on top of this high ground. Bashka looking forward to see if they can take down the Drow Ranger. Another beautiful blue hole comes in from Young G, and they take down the Drow Ranger. Triple kill for Cobus Line, ultra kill for him. Give him the rampage, give it to him, give it to him, give it to him. He doesn't get it. Young G takes it away.
Maybe still.
Damage that Waste 21 takes it away as well. Maybe with another few couple of seconds, Cobus Line wants to see if he can stand here and fight and get the rampage. No, it's not. It's taken away from Bashka. And that's a fight that you want to see again if you're Nemiga.
Oh, for sure. I mean, they just go right into the thick of things. That's the big difference, right? With the Song of the Siren, once you're in that Rolling Thunder, you could still have that impact across the board. He was doing a great job of just disrupting everyone, getting them set up for that blue hole coming in from the Storm Spirit with the Ion Cannon, like you were mentioning, going in, layering in over the top. And that's the power of the Refresher Orb as well. Just being able to get the double global silence coming through. Even just very minor things like Monodrama made sure to get the last word onto the Shadow Shaman towards the very end there. If not, he would have ward trapped and fully shackled one of the cores on Nemiga. But because he got that last word off before the ward drop, it meant that there was no follow-up and just meant that Drow was dead woman walking.
Yeah, long concentration there coming out from the silencer. As you said, it was just a well-executed team fight there from Nemiga, and cause man, I just keep getting this like nugget in the back of my throat. I guess nugget is probably the worst word to use. Like a chicken nugget in the back of my throat. A chicken nugget. Cobusine, he did such a good job at just creating all of this extra space for his teammates and really just kind of force him into a lot of these bad positions and these bad ideas.
For sure. And that's the power of panic, you know, like Dota 101 is make the enemy team do what they don't want to do, essentially. And, you know, if you've got multiple ways to create that panic, from double global silence, double rolling thunder, the potential of a Storm Spirit with Black Hole, basically, is a pretty powerful tool to be able to have. And he's got the Aegis as well, so I wonder... maybe he's going to be conservative, it seems. Just wait for that buyback gold before he goes and purchases out the full Parasma. But with the Aegis, I kind of feel like it might be useful to have now.
We'll see. He wants to dip their toes into the Parasma world. Whether or not Young G is going to feel okay with not having it just yet. What are we looking at now for some of these extra items coming in here from eSpoiled? BKB was up on the Shaman for a long time. Edzuka.
That's the item. The Aghanim Scepter for the Naga. Like, that's the one that you're really wanting, because Pango didn't go for that Lotus. They don't have anyone with the potential for the Lotus. And I mean, at least the Ensnare is going to be enough. You want to, of course, get maximum value out of the global silence, so you're not going to global refresh and immediately global again. You might need to, if that's really what the control is that you're looking to try and play around, right? Because Naga will use the Guardian Greaves to be able to break that global silence. I'm just having a look around if they're ready to pop a smoke here. Doesn't look like they have one. They've got a pretty good ward, but scouted out by that insane cast range that Shadow Shaman has off the back of his Magnifying Monocle and Aether Lens.
A lot of range for Ryota. And now this is where things get very tentative for both these two teams. They both understand that a lot of these team fights come down to execution rather than actual teams, rather than the heroes.
Of course, he's being annoying. He's just trying to cut these waves with his Naga Siren. There's the Deluge there onto the creep waves as they come in.
Does a lot of damage.
Really finding the Pango just off the mark there with the Avalanche.
That would have been a big pickup for them to take down Cobus 9.
Cloak as well on the Tiny, so it really comes down to, like, who do you actually go for? Because everyone's got like a defensive tool of their own. Like Shadow Shaman still dies incredibly quickly, so that probably needs to be your main priority of looking to try and jump onto him. Especially, it's probably going to need to be Storm Spirit because everything else is too slow. He's going to be able to pop the BKB and probably be fine, but everyone else, like Naga's got the Outward Staff, you've got Pyrrhic Cloak on both Tiny and Undying, you've got Blade Mail on Undying, you've got just 4k HP and a crap ton of armor on Tiny.
A lot of hard heroes to try and deal with here, and that's kind of the name of the game, right? Is you know, deal with Drow, but you've also got all these other heroes that are very, very hard to deal with that are around here as well. So
It's got to be Shaman first.
fight execution for both of them will be.
Ashka's looking at Undying, trying to take him out here, but making sure not to walk too close to that high ground ward. Stay out of the sentry range at least. He's going for a bit of a solo play, it seems, here.
Okay. Young G, you have to be careful, and they just get rid of the Undying. Okay, so Young G will walk forward, does not pop that BKB, has the Aegis to still play around with. The Orbital Cannon, though, is able to buy a little bit of this extra time. Ryota goes into his own BKB. Once again, this Global Silence just buying a lot of this extra space. They still do have the extra life here for Young G, but they're just going to go into the foul play. And they took 2 quick kills there for the side of Nemiga. They have to be very, very careful about their base, though.
They do.
But kills are kills.
That he was 5 seconds away from Ceaseless Dirge as well, so could have had that free respawn, but wasn't meant to be, doesn't have money for the buyback. Yes, you're a little bit worried about your base, but Tier 4 towers should be able to deal with it. You're much more worried about trying to crack into the enemy's base, especially when you've got the potential to clean up this series 2-0. Aegis expiring in 20 seconds, so going in, just trying to force out a few big cooldowns here is Young G. Just be careful of getting too far out of position, though.
Especially if you go deep into this base, or the punch up and the kick in on the Drow Ranger. They want to see if they can get Snowy, but it's a big soul.
No buyback.
They're standing here and they're looking to see what they can do. They lose out on the Aegis. So Young G goes into the hole, and it's a blue hole. Everybody sucked in. It's the Drow Ranger who's low. It's the Drow Ranger who's dead. It's a buyback now coming in from eSpoiled. They're looking to see if they can stay alive for a little bit longer, but no, Purple Paradise goes and bites the dust again, and it is all disengaged. All systems go for Nemiga to try and get themselves out of this base. But again, the blue hole goes in the background. The Orbital Cannon does a lot of work, but it's not enough to take out Snowy. Oh, he's so low. If they took down the Drow, that would have been game over, but it potentially could be now with 2 minutes on the sideline for Purple Paradise. Waste 21 goes into the background, seeing how much damage they can do. Snowy's TPing into this fight. It's going to be oh so slow for them. They do have the extra damage. They're coming towards the backside here for Young G. Once again, the blue hole goes on the Snowy, but do they have the damage to take down the Drow Ranger? Look and try and get on top of him. They do. That is 2 minutes dead with 2 cores, and the GGs are dropped, and that will be a 2-0 for Nemiga. It took them 51 minutes to finish off this second map here, but they get it done, and they will move forward in the lower bracket. And unfortunately for the boys of eSpoiled, it is a 2-0-2-0 and sent out of the international qualifiers.
Hold on. What happened there? Because they called GG, the creeps were hitting the Aegis, and it says eSpoiled victory. So I'm going to need to know what exactly happened in that, what the ruling is with the actual outcome of the game, because I am not 100% sure how the admins are going to rule this one. Yeah, that's certainly an interesting
I didn't even notice that. I didn't even notice that. I saw the Gs get dropped from, I believe it was Naga was the first one that dropped the GGs. And